Hi everybody, it's the 12th of the 5th today, and January, February, March, April, May, 4th, 5th, I don't know. Anyway, I've procrastinated all day and I feel really pissed off with myself that I've just spent the whole fucking day procrastinating, oversharing. I had this massive urge this morning to get on here and share my feelings about direction, having direction in recovery. And I'm finding the longer I'm in recovery, the more I'm needing to be stricter in my direction. Direction for me when I was younger was straight to the fridge, straight to the cupboard, straight to the hidden lollies, straight to my dad's beer, hoping he'd not remember. My brother and I would share a stubby, taking a stubby to him, and then it'd be straight up around the corner in case he found out or realised how much we drank before he got to it. Yeah, I'm missing everybody dearly. I really am. I'm missing everyone in my life dearly. I keep having these images of all our loved ones, our relatives, sitting on the porch out at the farm up at Canamble, out on the property Milton in Canamble. And it was beautiful out there. It was a big old homestead, 25-foot ceilings. It needed a lot of work to bring it back up to scratch, but nonetheless it was just beautiful. And I can remember when I was younger and we'd be playing, it'd be hot, Christmas, and we'd be playing under the hose, and I'd just look at the porch, and for some reason I'd have these feelings of all the adults being over at the porch talking and us kids here just talking and playing and doing what we do when we're little and we're young, and we're not meant to be worrying about things and not meant to be bothered whether our father was going to get into a fight of some sort after a few more drinks, and hoping that he can go in town and have a few beers and come home and just go to bed. It was never like that. It just never was. But I was speaking of direction. And what I meant by direction this morning was, where am I going in my recovery? Which direction? What have I got to do to get there? Whom do I want to be around me when I get there? I can tell you now, I don't really have anybody that, I don't have anybody to help me give that direction apart from God. G-O-D, good orderly direction. I heard that said to me about 30 odd years ago. And when she said it, I just went, what? What do you mean, good orderly direction? She said, well, if you're struggling with the concept of God, then just think of a struggling as a connection as a child. And I think the only struggle I had as a baby or a little one, wee little one, was how much food I could get. And it's the same when I grew older. It's how much food I could eat. My very first addiction was food. I have to be honest there. My very first addiction was food. And I'd never take the whole packet of biscuits. It would always be part thereof. Something would always be left behind, be it a certain biscuit that I didn't like. I don't know why I'm having little half laughs here and there. I just miss everyone so much today. I really do. On days like this, I would ring my mum and we would just talk. Just talk about anything. You know, we'd solve the world's problems is what we used to call it. Then we'd be a bit silly and Mum would say, "Are we going to Paris for morning tea today?" And I'd laugh because neither of us liked eating out, you know, sort of in front of people. And I don't know. I don't believe for one moment, maybe she did, I don't know. But she died 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon, or it might have been a Sunday afternoon. We'd had downfalls of rain and it was flooding, and the way that we went to get to Deniliquin was all flooded out, and we had no way getting through. And I did say to my son, who was nice enough to take me over, we need to take my four-wheel drive. We really do need to go on the four-wheel drive because we're just not going to make it. I had a lovely Commodore and he really wanted to drive it over. I can get that, you know, your first nice car, and wants to drive Mum to see her mum for the last time. And it just didn't happen. I didn't go to a funeral. A lot of things I didn't do. There's a lot of things I did do with Mum, as in talking and just lounging around and talking, just wasting time really, but it was a fun wasting time. It wasn't a commiseration of wasting time. Not all my siblings think like that, but anyway, I do, and I did. So now that she's gone, what do I do? Where do I find my direction? Don't get me wrong, my mum wasn't there just to give me that direction. Realistically, my direction needed to come from a source greater than self. And for me at that time, it was God. It was God. I can notice how puffy my eye is here. I suppose I could share it at the end of this share, but I fell asleep on the toilet. I don't drink or drug, but I fell asleep on the toilet and face planted in the door. Jesus. And I've got this massive big egg on my head here and a puffed up eye. But it must have been a doozy because I could feel myself trying to get up, but I'd actually knocked myself out. And I've got my pants down to my ankles, so thank God. Thank God my son, well, he was home, but he sleeps well. And, yeah, the things we do, hey? The things we do. Feeling quite melancholy, I think the term is. missing everyone. I even miss my dad. I even miss my dad. My cousin would bring his horse over in the evening, and of course I'd be the one that would want to get on all the time, you know, fuck everybody else, I just wanted to get on. But I used to love to watch my dad get on the horses and ride. He was very good rider, very good horse rider. Very accomplished, I think the terminology is for horse riding. Whereas me, I get on there and I'm trying to forget the falls that I've had on the horse, and other people are trying to remember them. Crazy. Crazy. This year, I can remember a few months back, although it's only a few months into the year itself, I recall not so long ago saying to my third eldest son, big changes this year, buddy. Big changes, I can feel it. Something big's coming. Something big's coming. And he keeps buying the tickets on Thursday night. He reckons that's the best money, Thursday night. So he jimmy together money and he buys a ticket. We're yet to win it, but he buys a ticket. But not just that. Speaking more so of a spiritual growth and where I want to go within that spiritual growth. People just mention to me that, I don't know, everything around me is just, and it is true, it's just material, it's material growth. And when I get up, I try very hard to do 10 things a day. When I first got out of Kerford Clinic in 2018, all I could manage was 3 things. 3 things. And then it went up to 4 things a day. And even then on the 4 things a day, sometimes I'd forget. But twice there, my sister rang me and she said to me, tell me 4 of the things that you've done today. And I thought, oh God, quick. So I washed 4 squares on the floor. 4 squares on the floor so they were nice and clean. And then the following day she rang again. She said, don't be scared. But what are your 4 things you've done today? I said, oh, I've tidied up 4 of the boys' toys today. She sort of went, what? I said, oh, I've just picked up 4 of the boys' toys and put them back where they're meant to be. So that was my 4 things for the day. Now I've increased it to 10 things. And it really is, it's quite amazing as to how tidy one's house can be when you do more than just the very basics of basics. That is a direction. It's a stronger direction than just doing 4. But I need to do more. I can sense it in here. I need to do more. I'd love to get a job that would be much more fulfilling, much more captivating, much more food for thought. I'm not useless at cooking, it just doesn't interest me to do it. I suppose in a sense, it's like life. And yes, that's the depression, it's getting quite dark. It's the depression trying to gussy up some kind of, not so much comprehension, but some kind of anticipation to do something, to really do something, to try and get that gusto, that, I mean, with depression and PTSD, neither of them, they don't come with an on and off button. They don't come with a volume button. They don't come with a might want to, do want to, couldn't care less, don't give a fuck button. They just don't. And they don't care who you are, what you look like, how old you are, what status you are, married or not, in a relationship or not. It doesn't come with things like that. It doesn't, those parameters, they're just not there. Well, they are for some, but they're just not there for me. Sometimes I wonder if it's because there's genuinely not meant to be. As crazy as that might sound, I might have to go inside and keep talking. My mum used to say always, I hate the time in the evening, I hate the evening time. And every time she was over here or I was over home, she'd say it, but she'd walk away and have a little cry. And that's just what I want to do right now. I'm a bit like Mum, I suppose. I hate this time in the evening. I wonder what all my boys are going to have for tea. That's probably really trivial considering they're all grown up. The only one I've got at home is Jaden. God love him, it's only because he's got these monstrous bills he's got to pay. But he says to me, Mum, when we make it big with the music, I won't forget you. He said, you come live with me. Just so sweet. He really is a sweet kid. Well, he's 23, he's not a kid. But I do miss all my boys today. It's probably why I was procrastinating. Have you ever sat back and really wondered what someone was doing for that day? I do that every day. I say good morning to all my boys. And then I say good night to all my boys, even though they may not hear me and they may not, I don't have any way of contacting them. But I'm just going to believe inside, just somewhere inside, that they might hear it. There's a gentleman that talks on one of the Christian channels here, and I've heard him often talk about his mum and how much he felt he was so disrespectful to his mum, and he didn't realise this until she died. He grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, and that was his terminology. And each time he ended up in jail, 5, 7, 10 years in jail. He thought he was someone because he ended up in jail. He carried some kind of notoriety, big time. His words, not mine. Well, the last time he was in jail, he said it really got to him that he was very, very lucky to get to see his mum on Christmas Day. And he said that people, the officers or whatever, come up and say, whatever his name is, you've got a visitor. And he'd be like, oh yeah, I bet I know who it is, Mum. And that would be his attitude towards it. And it was his mum. Nobody else would go and see him. But every Christmas, his mum would go and see him. Every Christmas. And then, one year there, his mum died. And then his birthday came round. And there was no visitors. His mum was the only one that visited him at his birthday. And then Easter would come around. Not one person, not one supposed friend came to visit, because it was his mum that came to visit. And then Christmas. He said he just sat wherever they sit. And the guy that calls out the names for the people who have visitors, he said that he sat there and he waited and waited and waited. He said it was only 5-10 minutes that he had to wait. And he didn't hear his name. Didn't hear his name. And he said that was the point in time that in front of the whole jail, he just burst into tears. Because it was that point in time that he realised how much his mum loved him. Through thick and thin, she loved him. He'd be in the jailhouse. She'd go and see him. He'd be at the police station locked up. She'd go and see him. It'd be his birthday. She'd go and see him. She'd buy him something, but it was quite, minimal. Because he was in jail, it'd be stolen or whatever. It'd usually be home-baked bickies or whatever it was. I don't know how long ago it was, but these are his words. For me, no, I've never been in jail. It doesn't make me any better. I've never been locked up. It doesn't make me any better. but I miss my mum. I'd usually ring my mum when I'd go out to my horses. I could be sitting there, and instead of them being in the paddock, I'd let them eat up the laneway. And I'd give my mum a ring, and we could talk for 2 hours. Never had a problem in finding a topic to talk with Mum. And then I'd get off the phone to put the horses back, come home, organise my tea, and I would ring her back or she'd ring me back. And then we'd still find another 2 hours to talk. I learned a lot about my mum then. I learned that she was scared of cows. She lived on a farm. She has banks of knowledge, so much knowledge about horses, yet she'd never ridden one, never. Every Saturday, her dad, he'd tag up the horse and say, "Come on, Leela, you going to ride today?" She'd say, "Yes, Dad." And she'd get down there and she'd be too scared to even put her foot in the stirrup to lift up onto the horse. Even then, she hated this time of the evening because everyone was, toddling off to bed to go to sleep. She liked it when everyone was awake. There were only 2 kids in her family, herself and her older brother. He was 8 years older than her. My mum was 28 when she had me, being the 4th child. I was the one that they didn't want. She told me that. And I don't think she was specifically being rude or trying to be rude or nasty when she said that. But it did kind of hurt. It did hurt. But she said I was also the quietest one. She'd shove a bottle in my mouth and I'd go to sleep. Wake up, have a small whimper, a small cry, and she'd shove another bottle in there and I'd go back to sleep. When I started drinking, I was like that. I'd be quiet, I'd shut up when I had something to drink, and I'd be all lippy when I didn't. My mum was a Sunday school teacher. I didn't know that. I knew she had grown up to be a strict Anglican. So my father really had to mind his P's and Q's when it came to being around my mum's parents. My grandfather was a very stately man and very bold, very, I don't know, just non-talkative. He'd just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. He'd just sit at the end of the table and be very obstinate and very bold, and everyone had to just shut up and eat. My mum said to me one time that her and her mum, they got the giggles up at the table. So my grandfather grabbed both my mum and Nan by the ear. It was all joking. They grabbed them by the ear and marched them out the door and closed the door. And then Mum and her mum sat out the front, looked at each other and started laughing again. Whereas at the table for us, we'd be playing spoppies at the table. I hated meat. God, I'm just a vegetarian, I don't like meat. So Mum would walk out the room or Dad would walk out the room, and we didn't use knives or forks because we didn't have time. We'd just use our hands. Some nights I'd end up with 4 mounds of potato or 4 lots of veggies, while someone else had all my meat. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. My mum was a legal secretary and my dad was an accountant at the DMR, Department of Main Roads. And my dad had been dead for just over 20 years when Mum died. And we still found paper. Because Dad used to bring mounds of blank paper home, just boxes of blank paper. And we used to sit back and think, Christ, why all this bloody paper? And I can answer that at the same time. Every time we'd go to do something, we'd ask for a wad of this paper. You know, I don't know if that's what they called it, but that's what I'm calling it tonight. You know, we'd all get this hunk of DMR paper with the DMR written on top. Yeah. Walk inside, it's a bit too dark. It's lovely out here in my sunroom. It'd be nice when it's finished. It's still not quite finished. I had this wonderful idea that when I moved into the house, when I bought the house, that it was only going to take me a couple of years to have the renovations done. And things changed dramatically. And 10 years and I've only just got the front room glassed in with French doors. And so it really is lovely out there in my front room. Just got to bloody finish it. Yep. I haven't spoken much on I was going to say procrastination, but that's not what I was going to talk about. I was hoping to talk about direction, in which direction I wanted to go in recovery. And realistically, that's forward. Forward. But even though I'm wanting to go forward in my recovery, that direction could take the slightest, so much of a move, and it could send me down the wrong street. You know, as much as however many degree difference, it could send me down the wrong street. The wrong road. The long road, not wrong, long road. Yeah. got a very sore head up here from where that was my impact point. And I knocked myself out last night, and I wasn't drinking. I don't drink. I haven't had a drink for over 30 years, over 33 years now. Yeah. Just very tired, and I take very strong medication. So I think it's time to ease up on some of the night medication, I think. Yeah. I'm trying to think of something funny. I just can't quite wrap my brain around it. I shared the one about going to church with my last share. All right, found one. Ballroom dancing. My 4 boys and myself, we learnt ballroom dancing. And my kids didn't want to go at first. They went, oh my God, Mum, ballroom dancing. I'm not going. That's for pansies. I'm not going. And I said, well, pansies or not, you're going. So I made them put their shoes on and off they went. And when I went back to pick them up, the smiles on their faces, oh, Mum, that was fantastic. When are we going again? And my 3rd son got in and he goes, boobs, boobs. He goes, he's all excited. He said, I'm right there looking at them. Oh God, it made me laugh. I get to hold them, not the boobs, but I get to hold the girls, and of course they're boobs right in front of me. His eyes would light up. But one of the competitions, I didn't compete at many, but this one particular competition, it was over here in Albury. We lived in Wagga at the time, and it was over here in Albury. And I went out on the dance floor, and I'm all ready to put my arm up in the air, my toe pointed, and I'm ready to dance. And then someone says to me from the sideline, Tony, you've got your bum hanging out. And I went, what? I said, I'm going to dance. She said, yeah, but you've got your bum hanging out. I said, what? What do you mean? And then, this is in front of 600 or 700 people, mind you. She walked straight over to me and she looked at me and she said, your bum is hanging out. She said, you've tucked your skirt in your stockings and your bum's hanging out. And then the compere goes, I just thought I'd bring to everyone's attention there's a slight wardrobe malfunction happening on the floor at the moment. And I've cupped my bum cheeks and all I could feel was my bum cheeks. And I turned my back. I went, oh, shit. And I've turned my back into my dancing partner. And I said, Michael, don't you go anywhere. Don't you dare go anywhere. And he was in his late teens, mind you, 18, 19, lovely young man. I said, but don't you go anywhere. And I'm pulling out my skirt and everyone's laughing. And I was just the colour of my glasses, bright red. Anyway, got the wardrobe malfunction fixed. And off we go for dancing. And then I said to Michael, why didn't you bloody tell me? He goes, well, I can't see the arse of you. He said, because I'm looking at your face. Anyway, when we finished dancing, everywhere I went all afternoon, I was dubbed the woman with her arse hanging out. Oh, there's the lady that had her bum hanging out. Anyway, I went over to Anne, because Anne, thank you, Anne, she lent me a pleated skirt, a really pretty pleated skirt to dance with. And I said to her, please, can I change to a different skirt? Have you got a different skirt? I said, I don't want anyone to recognise me the next time I go out. She said, oh, it doesn't matter now. She said, you've got your bum covered. She said, nobody will recognise you now. I never competed after that. I was so bloody embarrassed. Jesus, in front of 600 or 700 people. And I go out on the goddamn bloody dance floor and I got my arse hanging out. Oh, God, the things we do. But yes, the group that I was dancing with did not let me forget about it. And then when we were organising to go to our next dance competition, Minna, who was my dance instructor, she said, Tony, this time come see me before you go to any of your dances so we can check the, make sure there's no wardrobe malfunctions this time. Oh, bloody hell. But my sons did very well. All four of them are very good dancers. And my second son, whom did very, very well, he went to Melbourne one weekend. I think it was Melbourne or Shepparton, and came home with 9 firsts. And then the following weekend, I've got them both mixed up, either Melbourne or Shepparton. He came home with 13 or 14 firsts. And I think his name was Michael. He was comparing the dance competition on the TV at that time, So You Think You Can Dance or something. And he came over to my son, whom was 8, maybe 9 at the time, and shook his hand and he said, young man, he said, I've heard the number that you are, which was 111 or something. No, it was 111 in Albury, so I can't remember his number in Shepparton or Melbourne. But he says, I'll remember that number and I'll remember your face. He said, and I look forward to seeing you. And So You Think You Can Dance. Yeah, he was pretty chuffed about that. Yeah, he was really chuffed about that. And I'm still embarrassed about having my arse hanging out. Yeah. Anyway, I shall talk some more very soon. Chin up, look up, you know. Can't see anything if you're looking down at the ground all the time. Okay, talk soon.